Hey everybody, Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. So if you've been following the channel, you probably know I like vintage Vespas, even though the modern ones are so easy, they're so much more reliable and just easier to ride and safer to use. But when a nice vintage bike comes through the shop, I just have to share it with everybody. So last week I shot a video of getting this beauty running behind me. This is I think a 1980 P200, and they never came in matte black, but over all the years somebody has generously brought it to these beautiful matte black patina, no pun intended, it's just a rat bike is what it's really called. But here's the opposite of the scooter behind me. So behind me there's like 30,000 or so miles on it. This scooter has less than 1,000 miles, and it's an original Vespa P200E sold here in North America, and it's a 1979 model. And I want to share everything about it and show you all the stuff. There's been a couple things that have been changed out on it. Unfortunately, I would have liked it if it was 100% original, but it's pretty close. So the reason this scooter is here at our workshop is several years ago we got it running, and just like this black scooter, is pretty much the same steps, like clean the carburetor, we replaced the oil line, the fuel line, the tank fortunately was really clean, flushed out, and the scooter started. We put a new battery in it, all electrical worked on it, and sent the customer down the road. But we warned the customer about something that may happen. We said there's a pretty large possibility that the motor is going to end up developing an air leak or having issues with the clutch starting to slip, and that's exactly what happened. The clutch started slipping. It also developed air leaks on the seals. So the crank seals on two-stroke engines, they're reliant on keeping a seal from the atmosphere for the engine to operate. I'm not going to go over two-stroke theory, but on a four-stroke engine, when you end up with like a rear main seal leak on, you know, whatever, your car or truck, it usually just leaks oil because the four-stroke motors, the seal is just holding back oil in the crankcase. But the crankcase of a vintage Vespa or pretty much any two-stroke, you know, holds back not the combustion pressure, but the fuel charge. And if there's any leaks in those seals, it causes running issues. And the core plates of that clutch, they're already just really hard from the age, and eventually they start slipping. So that's why it came here for service. So we overhauled the motor, essentially just replaced those soft parts like seals, gaskets, and the clutch plates, overhauled the clutch, and I don't even think we put new rings in it. The cylinder and piston were in pretty nice shape. I should have taken some videos while this motor is apart, because it was like taking apart a new motor that just needed those soft parts like the seals and gaskets. So the most fun part is always starting a vintage Vespa, so I figured I'll do that for you guys. So it's got a fresh battery in there, and on these US spec vintage Vespas, you know, with a taillight, and you have this really nice vibrant neutral light that comes on, indicates it's in neutral. All the wiring's still intact for that neutral switch. That was only present on the North American Vespas early on. You don't really see that on any other markets. And then on this right-hand switch right here, we put it right to the run position. Ironically, that's mostly broken on many of the vintage Vespas. Fortunately, we've had these reproduced, both the left and right switch, by the original manufacturer in Italy, so they still are available on the Scooter West web store. So if you're restoring a scooter like this, you can make it 99.9% original. So got the ignition on. I'm going to turn the fuel on. The fuel lever has been replaced. In my past videos, I think even on my own personal Rally 200, I've showed that original unique to America and I think Australia, if I recall. Fuel lever, it's a plastic one, it's very fragile. I think it probably was broken, so we replaced it. So pretty much got the choke out, it's a cold engine, fuel is turned on, and with these vintage levers, you just point it straight up. I like to give the scooter a little tip to the left and give it a swift kick. So 2 kicks, and I don't know, it's like probably 60 degrees in here. So you only need like a short moment of a choke, and there you go, it's idling. And you're wondering how these operate. So pull the clutch in, twist the shifter straight up, and there you go. And to turn it off, if you're unfamiliar with the vintage Vespas, we'll turn the fuel off. I keep my leg out of the fan cover right there. I don't have the cowls on the scooter. And usually I like to let them run for a good 15 to 30 seconds, and then turn the ignition right off. So there's a good running vintage Vespa for you. So there you go. Runs really good. I've taken this scooter around the block. It runs about as good as a stock Vespa would ever run, a P200. The P200 is a pretty ideal scooter if you're looking for a vintage scooter. Really easy to get all the parts, and it's got some power behind it. It's not going to hop on the highway and motor across the country, although several people do that all the time with these kind of scooters, or tour all over the place, tour the world. But they're just pretty practical scooters despite being a vintage Vespa. So as you can see, the cowls aren't on either side of the scooter, but it kind of shows the fun stuff that you find on a vintage Vespa. So pop it up on the stand there. The battery's not original. We put one of those sealed batteries, the same battery that we put on this black Rat P200 here. And these are pretty nice because they don't leak acid. A lot of times you end up with acid leaked inside the rim of those older style batteries, so they can kind of be a problem. What's pretty cool is this is original tires. It's never been on the roads, never touched the roads. So still got the fur on it from 1979, or I think this scooter was manufactured actually in late 1978. It's a Pirelli tire, but it's just the original tire. It's pretty cool that's still here. Still has an original fuse holder under there. A lot of times those corrode, and we've since replaced those fuse holders, but it's all original and still there. And on the inside, I still see the original turn signal flasher. All functions just fine. So that's what's found underneath the left-hand side cowl. And even there's not really much scratching on the original paint all the way around. A little bit right here where the hook kind of from the cowl hooks onto this little plate right here. Lever's still in good shape, and the little grommet where the contact for the turn signal resides. So just like a review of a modern bike, I'm kind of just going to show you the scooter from the front to the back. So the seal beam headlight, this is unique for North America. It's a General Electric headlight. That was never found in any of the other markets, but that's actually an American-made headlight that they use in these. The mirror, this is probably very much a period mirror. And same with this lever. This is certainly not an original lever that came with the scooter, but it's an original accessory from the company Dasme here in Chicago. Vespa of Chicago had different style levers. And this made it a little easier for somebody who had short fingers to use. I don't really recommend these style levers because usually with a clutch you want all the pull that you can get. This is the original brake lever right here. But moving on down, you can see the leg shield, the horn cover is all in real nice shape, all original. And probably the most remarkable part of this whole scooter is how did the front fender survive the testament of time? Usually they just get garage rashes. I see a little nick here, but in the corners get pretty beat up just from, you know, storing a scooter in a garage for 40 plus years. It's got the original reflectors. If you replace this fender, you would never find the holes, or it'd be pretty difficult to even find those reflectors. Moving on to the front hub, the tires have been replaced. It's got modern Pirelli Angel tires. Those are obviously brand new. We did put the original cap for the valve stem on the brand new inner tube, but it's got the original brake hub. And the way you know it's got the original brake hub for the North American market is it's got an inspection screw. And that's also found on the rear hub. Most vintage Vespas that have been heavily used Maybe the hubs have been replaced because they've been out of round or for whatever reason. So if it's a replacement hub or a hub from a European market scooter, it would never have that inspection screw. It's a large Phillips screw, and you can go in there and inspect the brake pads. Only found in the North American market scooters. Moving on to the right side of the fork. The fork still looks very nice and original. There's a little crack in that cover. We're just going to leave it alone because it's the original part. It's got the same silvery plastic cover over the spring and the original dampeners. They feel perfect. They work perfect, so no reason to replace any of those parts. Even this little screw is original right here. So pretty much the whole front end has been, untouched. My technician did pop the front hub off just to double check the wheel bearing grease. I think he cleaned it out a little bit, put fresh grease in there, so the wheel bearings are all in good shape. But we didn't drop the fork. The fork bearing grease feels really nice and smooth still, so we're gonna leave that alone. So here is the headset top. This is made of plastic. This is the original piece to the scooter. It's still got that nice little ring around there. And turn the ignition on. Look how nice that neutral light looks. And look how nice that needle looks. Usually, if these scooters have been left out in the sun, that 55 and that kind of fluorescent orange needle would have been long faded. The turn signals work. The little indicator isn't working so good. It kind of flashes once. If I had the cowls on here, you would see that lighten up just fine. The high beam and low beam, they only come on when you start the scooter. The horn works. That's the original horn there. These switch covers, they're a little bit faded just from time. They probably could be cleaned up with some type of Armor All kind of stuff to clean those up if you wanted to. But looks pretty nice here. It's got the original dome plastic. A lot of times people rebuild the speedometer, it's just replaced with a flat piece of glass. And originally they had a dome piece of plastic. And no one's allowed keys to really rub on this too much. I see a little bit of rub marks on the plastic that probably could be buffed off. Moving on down in the inner leg shield, this is where some of the special things that you don't see too often are found. You got the vehicle emissions control information sticker. There has been reproduction stickers for both the VIN number sticker and also this sticker. Eric at Second Avenue Scooters in Arizona has made those in the past. I don't know if he is now. I don't know what this little sticker is, if it has something to do with the serial number. It actually does. You rarely ever find this paper sticker on a vintage PE, because if it's been repainted or just owned for lots of years, this is a paper sticker, so washing the scooter would usually deteriorate the sticker. Many dealers would probably remove it, but it is the last 5 of the serial number, the 40099. So I don't know, maybe this scooter is like within the first 100. I don't know. I'm not sure how the serial numbers really worked on these early American P200s. It's got the column lock and the glove box lock. Those are original parts. And I'll open it up. And just to show you some of the stuff that's included with the scooter. This is the original air pump. It came in the paper. Somebody never took it out of the paper. It's got the original Piaggio emblem. I'm not going to upset it anymore. I have covered this air pump in the past. I think I just called it a fuel pump. There's a small hose that threads into the end, and you can inflate the tires as needed. But that was included with the original P200. Moving on to the owner's manual. I think I've covered this in the past because I have found these. I don't think it came in that Ziploc bag, but there's the original owner's manual. This is a worldwide owner's manual. It's in English. They have a supplemental for the United States market. It actually had all the basics of doing a tune-up on the scooter. There's some receipt. I'm going to leave that alone. There's some wonderful illustrations in here. Oftentimes you find these manuals and they've been waterlogged, so they're not in very nice shape, but this one's in incredibly nice condition still, for being over 40 years old. And this is the supplementals, I think specifically for the North American market. So there's the wiring diagram for the North American market P200 and the P125X, which wouldn't have included the electronic ignition. This is also a US supplemental that you rarely see at EPA standards. If I recall, this may be the warranty book. No, it's actually stopping distance. It's got some odd information in here. I guess it just maybe was mandated in the United States that they had to include this information. I have never really seen this manual right here, but it's certainly for the US version, EPA standards. And last but not least, you got the original tool roll. It's got a black plastic bag with Piaggio on there, and you get some basic tools in there. Enough to change a spark plug, change a tire. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of corrosion on these. That is the original wooden screwdriver right there. You also get the little wrenches for adjusting your cables. So that's still original in there, and there's a little spring that you'd normally put this little toolkit with into this little spring right here. So if you're wondering where this hose stores on the original air pump, it just drops right in the top right there. So that's how the air pump worked. And I've tested these air pumps out. You know, the problem is all the seals are dried up, so they actually don't function. You can see the little seal right there is just a dried up piece of rubber. So it's more of the novelty that's an old collector's item at this point. Old vintage bicycle pump with a Piaggio emblem. This glove box is in perfect shape, doesn't vibrate at all. It all works perfect. The rubber floorboard strips are all original on this scooter. We've didn't replace any of these parts. Still just really nice. This thing was obviously stored in a nice dry garage that probably didn't get too hot and was just at pretty ideal temperatures for all these rubber bits to survive the last 40 plus years. So I think we did replace the sight glass and the oil tank, because those typically deteriorate regardless. It's got the original choke knob right here. Does not have the original fuel tap. This is a plate that's sold. We still sell these at scooterwest.com, and it's a replacement for the original plastic fuel lever. And the way these work is straight up and down is on, and when you have the R showing, that's reserve. When you turn it all the way to the left, that's closed. So the P200 is one of the first scooters that has a locking seat. I want to keep people from stealing that gallon and a half of fuel that you have. The seat has been since replaced. That's actually an original PX seat from probably the 80s or 90s. Was this style seat. Somebody replaced that sometime, I assume the 90s, maybe early 2000s, the seat was replaced. I'm not sure why the fuel cap has been replaced with a primered one, but the tank's still in really nice shape. And that's the original tank. Unfortunately, the rubber bumps kind of discolor the paint, and this is pretty normal for the gas to kind of discolor the top of the tank. And if you're wondering what this is for, this is where you'd hook your helmet. And the idea behind the locking seat, you know, in addition to securing your gallon and a half of fuel, is also it locks a pair of helmets off the side of the scooter. Thanks for watching. Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. So if you're looking to restore a scooter like this, or you have one, of course we have nearly every part that you need to keep one of these running at ScooterWest.com. And of course, over the past dozen or so years of making videos, I've covered a complete restoration of a P200, and we've also rebuilt a P125X motor, which is nearly identical in the past. And it kind of shows all the steps you need to know to overhaul one of these motors. They're pretty simple to work on with just basic tools. There's only a couple specialized tools, so pretty easy to keep on the road with some basic mechanical knowledge and the spare parts that you need. I'll see you on the next one. Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com.